my name is Mengkun Tian. I am a research scientist working in the Georgia Institute of the Technology. Today, I would like to share my recent study on the corrosion test on the additive manufacturer stainless steel 316L in the liquid cell holder produced by the Protochip and in the transmission electron microscope. So this research was published in the Corrosion Science this year. So before we get into our research, let me briefly introduce our group. So our group is MCF, Material Calculation Facility. We have 11 research scientists in our group. So our group is physically located in the Institute for Electronics and Nanotechnology, IEN, and we financially supported by the IEN and also IMAT, short for the Institute for Material. So in the recent 5 years, we received more than $6.7 million for the facility update, and we received more than $10 million since we launched in January 2015. So here is a list of our facility, and we have a facility in a different kind of building. And we have a facility like XRD, AFM, STM, different kind of SEM and aberration corrector stand and TEM and many other. So if you are interested in our facility, you can go to our website showing here and find our contact information. All right, let's get into our research topic. So the liquid test we perform is in the liquid cell holder, as I mentioned, that's produced by the Protochip. And we have two chip to seal the chamber. So between these two chips, there is about 500 nanometer spacer. So this 500 nanometer can guarantee enough flow of the solution across the chip, and it can guarantee a relative good enough resolution to resolve the sample. So the bottom chip is a small chip at the bottom of this large chip, and the center of this bottom chip is electron transparent silicon nitride. And the electron beam will penetrate through the counterpart of this electron transparent window at the top chip, and also the exit at the bottom chip here. So if we flip the top chip over, and we can see the configuration like this. So there are RE, WE, and CE refer to reference electrode, working electrode, and counter electrode. So those electrodes were made by the platinum, and our sample was produced by the focused ion beam, the FIB, and is mounted at the end of the working electrode. Of course, the membrane around this sample are the electron transparent silicon nitride. So the material we investigate is additive manufacturer 316 stainless steel. This material was produced by my colleague, Professor Wang, and he published this material, the mechanical test and the elemental calculation for this material in Nature Material in 2017, and also have many other significant research on this material. And this material have a unique property that if you look at this high angle annual dark field image, you can see there are network with a bright contrast showing here. And this network are due to the elemental segregation of moly, chromium, and nitrate, and the nickel. Sorry. So this this network are the dislocation cell network. And in this sample, we can also see some big spherical spots. Those spots are the oxide, mainly silicon oxide. So we use this sample for the corrosion test, and the solution we use here is 1 weight% of hydrochloride. We previously used the sodium chloride, but we didn't see any corrosion test, then we have to use more corrosive hydrochloride. So this is a piece of additive manufacture stainless steel. Before we put it into a solution, and we can see that there's network shows a bright the contrast in this image, and the open circuit voltage we use minus 560 plus minus 30 millivolts. So after we apply the voltage by over potential about 60 millivolts for just 20 seconds, clear corrosion happen on this material. So the bottom side of this material, where is also the thinnest part and also the most ion implantation part, because we mill the sample with the ion beam with a certain angle. So this area was completely etched away. And this area is our region of interest. If we zoom it, we can see the dislocation cell network get corroded. And also the consistent results showing the EDS map that in all the elemental map, the dislocation cell network shows a darker contrast, that meaning the loss of material. So one thing interesting is that there are many oxides at the cell network, and this oxide increase the size, and compared to the oxide inside the network, we want to see whether this what's the origin of this big dark spot, and whether this dark spot can increase the size, eventually become a pit. So we need to resolve every moment of the corrosion. So we need something called a time resolve the corrosion test by capture every second of the corrosion. But before we do that, we notice if we apply the electron beam with long integration time, like shown here, when after we take the EDS map here with the 100 by 100 pixel with 2 seconds integration time per pixel, then the electron beam damages the sample under the potential. So by to minimize the beam damage effect shown here, we maximize the flow rate of the solution, and also we flush the corroded material by DI water for at least 10 minutes with a maximum flow rate. So after doing that, we can find the beam damage get minimized. So this is for the time resolved corrosion test. After we maximize the flow rate, the OCP, the open circuit potential, increased to minus 454 plus minus 7 millivolts. And this is the piece of a sample before we merge into the solution. And I selected 2 representative areas shown here. So in the first area, there is a dark spot, which from the EDS mapping, we characterize this is oxide. And this oxide is sitting at the intersection of the dislocation cell boundary. And in the second area, there is oxide just inside dislocation cell. And we merge this one in the hydrochloride and apply the voltage at minus 400 millivolts for 1 minute. No obvious corrosion happen. But if we increase the voltage to minus 300 millivolts for just 4 seconds, we can see the morphology of this material get changed, and also the oxide corroded and become larger, and there's no obvious corrosion happen here. So if we extend the corrosion time for up to 20 seconds, we can see the size of this oxide just keep the same until it's merged into the corroded dislocation cell boundary. But inside the cell boundary, we can still not find the oxide inside this boundary. It's not corroded. So we also apply the cyclonic voltage on the sample, on the bulk sample, by applying the voltage from the open circuit voltage to 1 volt and come back. And this is the SDN image for the bulk test after a corrosion test. We can see the cell boundary gets corroded, and from the rooming image, we can see the oxides become larger at the cell boundary. But if we look at the oxide inside the cell, it doesn't change the size at all. But it might just dissolve in the solution, but didn't change the size. That means the oxide at the cell boundary have a severe corrosion, but inside the cell, it's just dissolve and nothing more happen. All right, that is all interesting finding we find in our recent publication. Thanks for your attention.